Well, hey, TexAgs Rewind. I bet you knew that by the title of the video you just clicked on. Thank you so much for joining us. I am your host, David Nuno. Nick Savage is helping me out today. Nick, what do you think the big theme of the show was today?
Big theme. Well, we had a lot of guests we don't normally have on, so we were talking a lot about just A&M's program going forward. You know, what Coach Fisher could do to make some changes. What changes will the recruiting class he's going to bring in? What good will that do for A&M going forward? So, I mean, it's kind of big picture today.
Yeah, big picture. We did talk about Marcel Reed saying, you know what, we're not going to go to the SHIP or the SIP, whatever they call it. We're going to go to Texas A&M, which was big news. I know it upset Lane Kiffin. Sorry about that. We also had Torian York, the linebacker, said, I'm going to go to A&M too. He was with Baylor for a little bit, changed his mind. Now he's going to Texas A&M. That was big news, and Billy called the show. He reacted to that. We also had John Lopez on the program, SportsRadio 610 and Gallery Sports. Great analysis from him. He loves following A&M very closely. Football, basketball, baseball, you name it. He's all plugged in when it comes to that. John Pugliese on A&M basketball, and, of course, Bill Bender. I don't know why I said of course. And Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Big picture college football. That and more. It is the TexAgs Rewind. But a couple of guys say, you know what, we're going to go to A&M. Torian York, who was with Baylor, will commit, changed his mind. He's going to A&M. We'll take that. And also Marcel Reed changes his. He flips from Ole Miss to Texas A&M. They finally got a quarterback in this class.
The fact that he flipped from Ole Miss make it a little more delicious?
That much better. And then I saw Lane Kiffin retweeted his statement, and I can only imagine the reason Lane Kiffin retweeted his statement was so Ole Miss fans would be in his mentions.
So. Which statement?
About saying where he was going to Texas A&M.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah.
Or his tweet, I should say. Sorry.
So, fine. I mean, I have to admit, I don't know much about Marcel Reed. I know he's a 4-star guy.
Tennessee.
I think Nashville has actually, in the last 10 years, started producing more quality football players than it had previously. I don't know exactly why. Probably because of the population explosion that they're having there.
Yeah.
But hey, Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin thought enough of him to want him, and the fact that he spurned them, like I said, just makes it that much better.
So here I'm on Lane Kiffin's Twitter account. The first one, which would probably be the last one he retweeted, was Marcel's gig 'em to Hayes Fawcett with a graphic of A&M jersey on, hat, cowboy hat, A&M helmet on. It's and he retweets that, which of course the only reason you would retweet a kid going to another school is for people to come after him. That's the only reason, right? In your fan base, not because you're supporting it. He also retweeted Marcel saying, "What's the word?" #NIL.
Or you're going to be able to just make the big decisions, be a CEO, be able to make those calls that a head coach can make and maybe influence the offense. Hey, I want to run the ball here. Hey, we need to hit the corners. You know, we need to take a shot down deep middle. Same thing with recruits. This is awesome. But I think the frustration level of Aggies, as you well know, is such like, cool. Let's see what happens now. How are you going to utilize them? How are you going to utilize the offensive coordinator?
You know, it's interesting, John, because I've had similar thoughts in the fact, or at least when it comes to A&M, it's all wait and see for me because we've had the number one recruiting class. We've had, the quarterback that we thought was the guy. I think now they got it right with Connor, don't get me wrong. But now I'm like, let's talk in October, let's talk in November, because preseason thoughts to me, I just need to see it on the field.
Yeah, absolutely need to see it on the field. Absolutely need players to buy in to the new system. And my big thing with the offensive coordinator, you talk about the weight. I sure hope that Jimbo isn't looking for a yes man. Someone who says, you know what, Jimbo, your offense is great. Let's not change a thing, but I'll be happy to call the plays. Maybe that's what it needs, or I'll collaborate with you. Some of the best moments in college football history are when a head coach, and you can go back as far as you want. I mean, I go back a long time covering this game. And you can go back when a head coach got out of his comfort zone and was hands off and more CEO, as I mentioned a second ago. Tom Osborne didn't win a national championship until he stepped back and was more the big picture guy. Mac Brown, he had his little circle of friends, all the guys that he grew up with in coaching, what's his name, Davis, or whomever that play caller was that was always, in trouble and criticized over there. Once he got out of his comfort zone, then they won a national championship. Jimbo Fisher has to get out of his comfort zone. He has to feel uncomfortable, and that's one of the hardest things, is for us to in any profession. In this profession, David, in football, in life, when you get pushed to an uncomfortable level, sometimes that makes you even better. And I think that's what he needs.
This next 3-4 weeks, how important is it for what this team is going to do? Because I've said a couple times this week, it is a very manageable early part of your SEC schedule. It doesn't close as nice as it starts. So how important is these, finish off non-conference the way you expect them to finish, and then start SEC play the right way?
So, I mean, these next three games are huge, right? They're all home. They're all over, holiday break. There's not going to be anybody at these games, but these next three games are huge for them to really get together and figure this out. And then this start of SEC play is easier than last year's. Last year, they had a couple games that were they were 4-0 or 5-0. And they beat Arkansas twice, and they played really well to start SEC play. This SEC conference start is easier than last year's. You have Florida, LSU, Missouri, South Carolina, and Florida again. That's 5 winnable games to start SEC play. That if you can win these 3 games, and you can do it in a way that you feel comfortable, right? Like you get guys locked in. People are making the right plays. They're playing with passion. They're connected as a unit. Right? If you can win these 3, and then you have to go to Florida, a Florida team that's not great, right? They're not great. Todd Golden's a great young coach, but they're not a great team right now. And then you have LSU, who has talent, but they haven't played anybody. Lots of transfers, new program. Matt McMahon's taken over, the LSU program. And then you have Missouri. So Quanzo Martin's gone, right? Coach Gates is there. So and that's a team that Missouri hasn't been great. Then you got South Carolina, not great. And then you got Florida again. Like, this is a great stretch. It could not be set up better for this team. And so now, build on every game. These next 3 games, live in the gym, live in the film room, figure out what your plans of attack are, figure out your defensive rotations, and come together with a defensive intensity that doesn't require great crowd support and all these people around, all that. It's just about the 5 guys on the court and the 8 guys on the bench, right? And I think they can do that here, but they have to really lock in, and they've got to figure out, who are we? We're not last year's team. That last year's teams are double teams, and they trapped and they pressed, and Q was in passing lanes. This team isn't that. So you got to figure out, how do we play Julius Marble, Henry Coleman together? How do we get more out of those 2 guys together? And how do we figure out our guard rotation so that it makes sense and we have the guys in the position to be successful that we need to win games?
College football playoffs, which team do you think is potential on, when you're one of the Final 4 teams, is not upset alert, but an upset alert, if you will?
Well, I don't know. So I guess we're choosing which one's more likely out of TCU, Ohio State. And strange as it sounds, I would probably pick Ohio State, just because you're going to have an NFL game on the field. I mean, Ohio State's the only Big Ten team that has an SEC roster, if that makes sense. They have guys that can compete against the SEC. Michigan's a little bit different. They don't have the 5 and 4-star talent. I'm not saying they're not better than Ohio State. I'm just saying, from a talent standpoint, Ohio State's probably got more NFL guys. If they throw it up and down, and Marvin Harrison has a big game and CJ Stroud's on point, they can make Georgia sweat down there. And another misconception, I know where the game is, but if you think Ohio State's not going to have a bunch of fans in that stadium and around that stadium, of course they are. I mean, it's one of the most well-traveled fan bases. So I think it's going to be an electric environment at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
Let's talk about a scenario. Let's say Ohio State wins and Michigan wins. What does that do to that rivalry in a championship game environment with those 2 going against each other?
Oh, you're talking to a Central Ohio guy who had, family and friends on both sides of that thing. So I can't imagine it. It's just it would be amazing. First of all, I think a rematch would favor Ohio State. I really do, because you've seen that with Georgia and Alabama and LSU and Alabama. And I'd take it all the way back to Florida and Florida State. When teams play twice, I think that the rematch at the college level favors that team. But, putting those teams out in LA and everything that's gone with that rivalry and the history behind it, I think it would be amazing. I still would pick Georgia and Michigan to win these games, which fascinates me because I want to know from a Michigan standpoint what changed. Are they going to play Georgia closer this time? Is that offensive line going to be able to push Georgia around a little bit? Those are the things that kind of fascinate me if that matchup materializes.
Nick, tomorrow's signing day. What time do you recommend people getting on TexAgs.com?
Approximately 6:59 a.m. because we start at 7 a.m. and we'll go all the way through 11. But that 7 o'clock hour is only on TexAgs, so head over there and subscribe to catch that, and then we'll pick up with the normal show hours right at 8 o'clock.
It's interesting. I go to bed early, typically between 9:15 and 9:45, somewhere in that range, just whenever my Yellowstone episode ends. And then I always wake up, 4:45, 5:05, and I check my phone because Billy is notorious for putting a posting at 12:38, 12:47 a.m., and I'm like, oh, God, I play catch-up and read and yada, yada, yada. So tonight's one of those nights. You'd probably want to be on TexAgs all night and then wake up with us early in the morning. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you.